I even on the way here changed the title on the
that
way.
creates movement.
And this is really not worth the wait, but thank you for waiting. It's called The Secret of the Dogs in 4 parts. I even changed the title. How do you like that? The Secret of the Dogs in 4 parts. Part 1, the dogs had a secret, and they were keeping mum. The leader of the pack sat across from me with her wolf-like demeanor and more hardcore than thou attitude, and answered every question with only a stare that spoke volumes of emptiness. As I tried to maintain control, I reminded myself what happened the last time I lost my temper during an interrogation. I had promised my children and their parents and my parents and their children that would never happen again. But I had let everyone down before, repeatedly. It had, in fact, been a long, long time since I had pleasantly surprised anyone. Part 2, the dogs who shot. With the help of the one-way mirror, I was able to discover, by closely observing the signals the dogs made to each other when I was out of the room, that the secret of the dogs had something to do with shooting, but that was all I was able to glean. The dogs remained sly and circumspect. Perhaps there had been gunplay, or perhaps the dogs were shooting each other with crystal meth or heroin, although not one of them appeared to be under the influence of anything other than their leader's firm control. I admired her greatly, but I would not let myself get seduced. I remembered the last time I had let myself be seduced, and I had promised myself it wouldn't happen again this year. But her eyes, her cold, gray, maniacal, powerful, penetrating, lupine eyes made me fear I would relapse, that I would soon be eating out of her bowl, as it were. Part 3, the dogs who shot marbles. Well, it definitely wasn't violence, and it definitely wasn't drugs. These dogs seemed to be running some kind of gambling ring. And when I returned from my dinner break, in one corner of the holding cell there was a circle of chalk, which I later learned was a copy of the Caucasian chalk circle. But in the middle of the floor was an actual circle drawn with actual chalk, and several marbles, some inside the circle, but most of them outside. And one marble was wedged between the pages of Bertolt Brecht's masterpiece. The leader, who never gave me her name, but to whom I now referred in my heart and soul and mind as the she-wolf, was staring at me with a sense of entitlement, if not complete ownership. Her cruel eyes continued to mock me without words, because words between us were as impossible as they were unnecessary. But we both knew that the hunter had been captured by the game. Part 4, the dogs who shot marbles out of their asses. Things took an impossible and yet somehow inevitable turn when by the end of the evening I had lost everything I owned in a single game of marbles to the dogs. I had figured, what kind of aim could they possibly have shooting marbles out of their butts? I had been taken in by the seemingly haphazard scattering of marbles outside the ring that clearly was a ruse to elicit false confidence. So I put up everything: the house, the SUV, my 40% interest in the sweatshop. I had been wanting to unload the sweatshop for years, the market in sweat having never recovered from the 2008 crash. But it was I who was sweating profusely after several dogs with remarkable sphincter control controlled the game from start to finish. The she-wolf shot my shooter out of the ring while never once breaking her stare, her eyes telling me what I already knew. I had lost everything. I had been stripped naked. I would wear the collar, and I would be going out for the walk. Storm Garner, Crystal Hawes, Susan Huang, thank you.